Hi, I'm Paul from Summertime Pools, and today what I'm going to show you is how to open your cartridge and to clean the filter inside. There's a couple of steps that you need to do before you even open up this cartridge. First things first is you actually need to turn off the power to the whole equipment unit just behind your equipment here. So I'll click those off now. Now, with the power completely off, the gauge is down to 0 now because it'll actually be all off in the system, and you'll need to come over to your equipment area to close off 2 of your valves. Now, when I open up this unit, like so, you'll see just in front of the pump here, there is a valve here and a valve just behind it. So what you need to do is you need to lever off these little plastic clips to hold them open and close your valve down, and the same in the back. So now coming back to the cartridge, the filter itself. So there's a couple of things that you need to do because it's still full of water. So you don't want to start undoing the screw here or the big knurl, just because you'll get soaked in water. So what you need to do is release the air valve at the top, and you'll hear some airflow coming through. Another good way to release some of the water is just behind the cartridge filter. There is a release valve or a backwash line or a waste line, and you open that up and release the water out. So once you've done that, you then can proceed to opening up the cartridge. So just on the side here of the cartridge is a little release button here, and what you do is you release it and you undo this unit all the way, and it will pop off straight away. You put that to the side, and there is your filter. As you can see, this one's brand new, so it's not dirty. You will actually notice how dirty they do get in between the fins and here. So what we do is you'll see the brown dirty color. But what we do, and what I highly recommend, is to get a nice bucket or an old bin or a clean one preferably, just using that for your cartridge filters. So you take the cartridge out, it just lifts out. It will be a lot heavier with water in it, of course. Put it into the bucket itself. Have about 10 to 15 litres of water in there, and you would use a product called filter cleaner. Now, what you do with this one here is you put about 500 grams of this filter cleaner with the water, give it a swirl inside and soak your cartridge filter. After 12 hours, what I normally recommend to do is to take the filter out and turn it up the other way because they're quite large, and soak the other side for 12 hours. All right, so 24 hours later, you've got your cartridge filter all been soaking in the filter cleaner. It'll be quite heavy and quite dirty. What you do is you put it down, get your garden hose, and you give the garden hose a good clean all the way around, hosing it all off and getting that filter cleaner chemical off the fins and all that. Don't use a high pressure washer because it will ruin the paper fins on this. All I recommend is just to give it a good clean, turn it up the other way and go the other way too. It just helps get all the excess dirt out of there. Once you've done that, you pick up the cartridge, slot it in. There is a slot just down the bottom there. It just sits in quite nicely and quite snug. And all you need to do is pop the lid back on. Always try to keep the filter gauge in the front. Just make sure it's slotted nicely, and you tighten it up until you hear the click and it's locked into position. I have still left this valve open for a little bit because when we turn the pumps back on, you want to hear a little bit of the air escape because you want to push the air out. Make sure that you close this valve back off now because you don't want water running out. Open up your valves, put your little clips back on, open up this valve again, slide up, clip that guy on. So the valves are open, ready to go. And then we can go back to the power points and turn on the power to the unit. One thing you will need to do is if it doesn't manually turn back on, you'll have to go to the control box and turn it on manually. And it might, what we call purge a little bit. It's just got to push the air out. So that's the reason why I have left the valve open on the top. The water starts flowing, and then once the water starts bubbling out the top here, you close that off and it'll be back up and running all normal. And that's how you clean your cartridge and remove the cartridge filter. 2 rules to remember. The first rule that you need to do is making sure that when you're soaking the cartridge, you have a spare cartridge. Highly recommended to have that. If not, you can actually run the cartridge filter without the cartridge while that one is soaking. But if you have a second one, that would be great also to run the filter and all the equipment all in one time. So the second rule is making sure that you clean your cartridge at least once every month, preferably every 2 weeks. And they're the 2 top tips that you need to remember.